Hello.
Hi.
Man, it's been a while. We are recovering and we're back.
Yes.
More or less. We're getting there. Many ways to go, but we're back and we're here to talk about Disney Figments in Time. Little sniglets of time that we've experienced, made up, here to entertain you one way or another. I'm Lewis at Disney Pick-a-Day, and she is Val. Val?
At Val Pal Mickey. Sorry, I thought you were going to introduce me, so I didn't say anything.
We're still working that out. I threw the script out. I was like, what the heck? We'll be more interesting this way anyways.
Well, I don't know if we're more interesting this way, but we're definitely going to be easier to laugh at this way.
Very unfortunately true.
I kind of feel like Joey when he rips off the bandage mask and yells, "I'm back, baby."
Little bit. There's a little bit of that. I actually would be more of a Futurama reference from me. Bender was always, "I'm back, baby." But a little more, I don't know. They're both as inappropriate as the other for whatever time. So we're going to just go through. We're going to talk about going to Disney solo. And we have a couple of videos to share. A video and a bunch of pictures to share.
As always, lots of pictures.
And we're going to keep the pictures down a little bit from what we've done in the past, just for our own sanity. But we're going to start out talking about, what it is to go to Disney solo and why is that good or bad. I've done it several times.
Yes, you have.
Unlike Valerie.
I have not.
She's been to a couple of days by herself when I was.
I've been to a couple of partial days by myself. I plan full days by myself, but somehow I only end up going for partial days by myself.
Some of us are better with their vacation than others. I mean, or we're our writing assignments and things. I'm like, I'm gonna be a week late. She's like, I got to get it done. Couple times has been she's been writing her dissertation she had a doctorate in education. Couple times, one time last year, it was just, I think you didn't feel comfortable going and didn't feel well or something. And we're going to Disney a number of times every year, 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a year. And if either of us can go, we're going to go. And I'm usually able to go, and she's been the one who's not been able to go.
Well, yeah. And to be fair, whenever there's been those moments of possibilities of me going on my own, you just can't stand it.
I work it out, right? I have a pretty flexible vacation schedule. So one of the things we've always done with these solo trips is she's given me things to do while I'm there to semi-torture me.
Well, that very first trip that you went on a full trip without me, well, it was the first or second time, I guess. You just kept talking about all the things you were going to do, and you were going to send me pictures, and you were going to do video, and you were going to do all of this stuff. And I was just like, it's not fair that you're having so much fun and you're so excited about going without me.
She may or may not say, don't talk to me about it. And then she goes, okay, just tell me some more. Okay, tell me some more.
And so I just thought, I wanted him to have a few moments of being completely miserable where in his mind he realized, wow, I'm here without Val and it's not as much fun without Val.
And that's true. It really isn't. Well,
it's fun without me. Don't lie about that.
That's the thing that I've come to recognize, that when you go by yourself, it's a totally different experience than going with 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a totally different experience with going with 3 people or 6 people or a bunch of people. Like when we went to the meetup last year, it still was last year now, wasn't it?
Yes.
And we're going in October. When you go with a bunch of people, it's fun for a different reason. Like, you're not going to get nearly as much done. You're going to have to eat whatever food they want. It's going to be a plan. And, that's fun. There's a camaraderie aspect to it. When you go with less people, there's less of that. When you go with two people, you're pretty much in sync, the schedule. I've seen some people, one person hates the whole idea of being at Disney. That's good too. But when you're by yourself, you have no encumbrances. You just go, right? And even the time you went by yourself, you did the things you wanted to do, which were totally different than the things I was going to do.
Well, and that's the nice thing is that you can plan to do in those moments that I have had. And we used to work it out a little bit, even on those early visits when our daughter was with us still. We would have moments where we would kind of separate because you guys would go do Rock and Roller Coaster, which I can't do. And so I would be able to do the Great Movie Ride as many times as I wanted to, or find a bench and people watch and get a tea, or, do whatever I kind of wanted to do during those times. But I can imagine having a whole trip to plan by yourself would be incredibly cool, because then all of your days are set up to kind of just really do the things you love and the things you want to spend time doing individually. And so that's what I've always thought was kind of cool about that idea of being able to do it. But you have terrible FOMO when it comes to Disney. And even those days like where you had work you were doing in Orlando, and I was like, okay, I'll plan this whole day. You would leave the conference early to come meet me because you couldn't stand that I was there and you wanted to be there. And then I ended up changing my plans because you're coming and you don't want to do the same things I want to do. So yeah, I've never really gotten that experience of planning a whole trip just on my own.
So anyone who's employed me or employs me now, I do not leave conferences early to go to Disney. Usually there's nothing to do during that time. Just saying. I have a bunch of pictures. One year I went to a Microsoft technical conference, and the conference was over at 5. And there were some things you could do at night, like parties or whatever. I did go to Hollywood Studios every single night because it's like the best park to go in for like 2 or 3 hours, especially if you have 3 fast passes. You can just kill it for the whole night. But I always do the things that I'm supposed to do. I didn't skip the entire day.
No. I did not say you missed anything important or anything you were supposed to do. I was just saying that once you were finished with work, we were still planning on me still having the rest of the day on my own, but you couldn't stand it. And so you usually ended up meeting me wherever I was, or talking me into coming and meeting you at a different park.
Okay, so the lawyer bits are over now.
Yes.
Make sure that's clear. So one of the things she had me do last time was go to Epcot and do Impressions de France. And I did not I have some pictures that were really terrible of the experience. And that was, of all the things I've done at Disney in all of the countries and all of the worlds, that was probably the worst thing. Well, okay. The second worst thing I've experienced at Disney. Oddly, the first thing was also in that theater. Happens to be that Beauty and the Beast film they did. That was really bad.
Okay, just to make sure everybody understands, I enjoy the films. I enjoy experiencing the countries and the culture, and I enjoy watching the films. The reason why I chose that as a negative for Lewis is because he does not enjoy the films, and he doesn't enjoy anything that takes him away from attractions. So the biggest goal when I'm trying to find these things that he has to do when he's there without me is to find something that's going to take him away from attractions, especially thrill attractions, and that's going to take him time away where he has to sit and do things that he would not normally like to do. Because my daughter and I have been to the film in France several times, but Lewis had never been before this trip.
And I will say I do like rides. I'm obviously a big ride fan. The last video I put out was about riding Everest, 50 sometimes in a day. But I don't hate all the films. I hate some of the standing in the films. Like I went to the last trip you had me go to see the China film. It's good. It's not so bad. The France film though is just like France in the 1800s, practically. I mean, it's actually, I think it's the 1950s.
1980s.
And even the people who were like standing at the gates entering in, I was like, this isn't like France is now. They're like, this is really old. I don't know. I don't even know if this exactly ever existed. They were telling me. So that was bad. I mean, like it was not my favorite thing to do ever. And I love the France Pavilion. It's one of my favorite pavilions. But the food, I mean, we've never been to the fancy restaurant. We've never been to Monsieur Paul. I took 2 years of French in college. I cannot even pronounce Monsieur. We go to Chefs de France occasionally, and it's good. But I love the bakery. The food back there is my favorite place to get breakfast.
It's been a while since we've done this type of thing, so I'm not sure if people realize that even restaurants, you don't like to take time to even go to the sit-down restaurants. You would prefer counter service for every meal if you even ate at all. To understand exactly how serious your need for attractions.
Well, attractions and scenery. I mean, like I said, I love walking around France. I love going back in the nooks and crannies. Well, I go back in the nooks and crannies of all of the World Showcase. One of the things that I don't have pictures of, we didn't put up for this, but I did Wilderness Explorers last trip, and it was really fun. Only rode Everest a few times that day. There's some good stuff to do. Just Impressions de France was not it. Walking back and checking out the Eiffel Tower was absolutely fantastic. So, all right. So,
that's my favorite.
So this was probably my least favorite. In some respects, it wasn't as bad as it seemed. Like standing in line waiting to go talk to the princess. Well, not talk because they don't talk, which is what honestly creeps me out a little bit. I want a little bit of, voice. Hi, Mr. Mister, and you're like, hey, hi, Sophia. It's like, this is cool. How are you doing today? That would be cool. That I would like. And not really a face character either. The face characters are okay. I like this idea of the doll, like the costumed characters, but them not talking and talking with hand gestures it's a fine art, but it's not something that
we just typically don't take time to do meet and greets in general. There are a few meet and greets we have taken time to do, but not very many. Even when our grandkids are with us, our grandkids are like, no, I'd rather go ride an attraction than to wait in line to see a princess. There's been very few times we've stopped, even with them, for meet and greets. So this was one of those where I thought, okay, what meet and greet could I choose that would not only take a long time because the line would be kind of long waiting for it, but also that would be a little bit embarrassing for a grown man to be waiting in line by himself to go see. And so I gave him a choice. I think I told him that he could do either the Sophia meet and greet or the Doc McStuffins meet and greet, I think. Maybe I'll let you choose between the two. And Sophia won out on that one. So I love that one.
Now I'm singing the Doc McStuffins song in my head.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, that's and you got the kids that are watching you, they're like, it's like it's their turn. Get out of my way. It's my turn. But yeah, that was an interesting thing. I know some people like to do it. Some people just, that's like their thing, is to do the character.
Oh yeah, and it's fun. It really is. It's just like I said, we just have always been. We're all about how many times can we ride this attraction while we're here, because our time is limited. I think if we lived there and we were able to go to the parks more often, then we might choose to do some more things like this occasionally. But not necessarily Sophia, but
she might. If we had been at
Sophia.
If we had been at the Halloween parties like 2 years ago and we could like get the subscription model they had, yeah, at that point I probably would have started, meet and greets, because, the lines, as I heard, the lines were never really, really short at the attractions. Yeah. And All right, so moving on, we're going to talk about when Val had a day and the things she did when she had her day. Starting with her leaving the Magic Kingdom, not even going to the Magic. I don't describe your process for that day.
I had always heard about Ohana and Tonga toast, and breakfast is my favorite meal to eat out in general. And so I can never obviously get you to do any restaurant that is off park. Even the resorts to you, it's off park, so you're not going to take the time to go. And so the only time we've really ever been to restaurants, it would either be if it was at the resort where we were staying, and it was a day when we were arriving or something where we wouldn't necessarily be going to the parks, or if it was a special occasion that I asked for us to go somewhere as part of a special occasion, like our anniversary or my birthday or something like that. So
that's mostly true.
I decided that I wanted to see to go to Ohana because I'd heard so much about it. So I made a reservation for really early in the morning for breakfast, and I took the bus over to Magic Kingdom because the other thing I wanted to do was to take the boat over, because we had never done this before, over to the Polynesian. And I just wanted to walk around the Polynesian because we had never really seen it. And I had just really never been to it before. We had not ever stayed there before. We would just see it when we were doing the ferry from the Ticket and Transportation Center. So I just thought it would be fun to actually take the boats, take a nice little trip over there, spend some time at the resort, look around, and have a nice breakfast, and then come back. And then I actually think, I'm trying to remember if I even ended up going to Magic Kingdom that day, or if I think I actually took the monorail to Epcot that day, maybe. I'm trying to remember now. It's been so long. So that was really my plan, was to just spend the morning hanging out at the Polynesian and enjoying breakfast, and then enjoying the boats. And so that was my first choice, was to do something outside of the parks.
All right, so the boat takes you over to the Grand Floridian first,
Mm-hmm.
then arrives at the Polynesian.
Yes.
Which was, it's an interesting place. I mean, we stayed there. We had never stayed there before. We got a chance to stay there last Christmas.
And it was amazing, which was really funny because, like I said, I had heard a lot about it. I wanted to see it. I had never really had a desire to stay there, though. And I don't know why, but it was just not super high on my list of resorts where I wanted to stay. And so we had just never really planned on staying there before. And it's also really hard to get for us. It's really hard for us to stay at the Grand Floridian, at the Polynesian, or for us to stay at like Bay Lake Towers at the Contemporary, because we're DVC members and those book up so fast. And we don't love to change resorts in the middle of a trip. We like to kind of pick a resort and stay there so we don't have to pack and unpack, because again, that takes us time away from parks.
And I like to get comfortable in the room.
Yeah.
I moved in. If I'm there more than 2 nights.
Yeah.
Drawers are full, fridge is full.
But for our trip this past December, because of COVID, there were a lot of things at the parks that were not working, not going. There, no fireworks, no evening things. All of the park had really early closing hours. We weren't sure how comfortable at that point we were going to be at the park still, because we were kind of in the middle of the pandemic still during that time. And so we had heard the Dillos on Dillos Diz talk a lot about how much they love the Poly. And when we were setting up our reservations, because of the pandemic and because they're doing construction at the Poly, a couple of nights came open, and we just decided if we were ever going to change resorts and try it, that this would be the perfect time to do it, to hear what the Dillos have been talking about, to see it for ourselves, to stay for ourselves. And still in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, it's going to be okay, but it's going to be, I can check it off the list. We've stayed at the Poly. I did not realize how much I was going to love it. And that should be a whole nother episode. But I really did enjoy the Tonga toast. To me was one of the best meals I've ever had on property. I enjoyed it so much. And I enjoyed just spending kind of that time walking around the Poly. And I forgot to take a picture beforehand. But I remembered about halfway through my meal. I'm not as great with pictures as Lewis is.
I'm actually terrible at taking pictures of food because usually I'm about halfway through and I go, oh, I should have taken a picture of that. And it happens a lot at the Epcot Food and Wine Festival. You're like, oh my goodness, I just spent $6 on a little tub of food that I was going to take a picture of and review, and it's gone. Got to go get another one now. Darn it. I've done that too many times. Yeah, I thought Tonga Toast was good. I don't think the version we got last time must have been as good as everybody makes it out, though.
Well, to be honest, to be fair for you as well, because of the pandemic, we could not eat at the restaurant, but they did have to go. So for his first Tonga Toast experience, it was food that I had picked up at the resort and walked over to our rooms and then had to get it all out. So it wasn't like sitting down in front of you at a table presentation for you. So it wasn't as, it just, I didn't even think it was as good that day as it was the first time I had it.
That's good to know. Because I thought it was good, but it wasn't like I went all the way this far. I went all the way to the Polynesian, which sounds really far.
Well,
it's really, that's one of the best parts I felt of staying at the Polynesian was how great the transportation was.
We just need to let's do a whole thing on it some other time because I have so much to say about the Poly. So much to say.
We should probably do a few episodes on other, resorts as well.
Yeah.
All right. So going back to the mission she gave me, one of the missions she gave me that I never actually followed through on was this coming up. And it is, let's see, it was to do a dramatic reading of the Muppet theme, the Muppet Show theme in front of the Muppet Theater. And I'm going to say something mean in this video, but it's all meant in fun.
And it's all you. It's not me. I want to have a disclaimer written on the front of this one to say I had nothing to do with this particular comment.
Take 7, 3, 2, 1. Hello, friends. I'm standing outside of Muppet Theater. That's right, Muppet Theater, not Grand Arts Theater. I don't mind that the area has changed, but still, this is Muppet Theater in my heart. I'm going to do a dramatic reading of the Muppet theme song, and we're just gonna go for it. It's the Muppet Show. It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight. It's time to put up makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Muppet Show tonight. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's kind of like a torture to have to walk to see the show. But now let's get things started. Why don't you get things started? It's time to get things started. I think I've made that point already. On the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, Muppetational. This is what we call the Muppet Show. Hashtag save the Muppets. Hashtag it's not MGM anymore. Get over it. See you guys.
Hashtag always MGM because that's my heart and my truth.
Hashtag always Amazon. That's a freaky thing that Amazon's buying MGM. That's someone needs to make a Bond ride, but and those people kept walking by. I think I said take 7, right? I'd been out there for like 30 minutes trying to do this. And some cast members talked to me about what I was doing several times. Like I was going to be a terrorist and attack the Muppet Show building. It was really wild. And it was hot that day. Of course, it's always hot at Disney, right?
Well,
or rainy.
That was the problem when we were trying to come up, and I had people help me to try to come up with ideas for your missions that we call them now. Because this was right in the middle of the process. Yeah, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. And so they weren't doing meet and greets. There were so many things that they were not doing. And at that time, they weren't doing the movies in Epcot. They had all the theaters closed. They had all the meet and greets shut down. They had all of the things that I normally would have thought through to try to give you to do, they didn't have. And so I don't remember. I think there were 2 options I gave you 2 options maybe for this day. I don't remember why you didn't end up putting that one out. But I was, incredibly disappointed in you that you had to use your phone for the lyrics. How in the world you don't just know that cold? I don't understand. That's just disappointing to me. But I'm surprised that people didn't understand what you were doing.
I am not a person who has the memory that Mr. #AlwaysMGM does. I'm impressed by that skill. I don't know how you actually achieve that skill. I can't memorize. Well, I have learned that I can memorize an entire telephone number if I look at it for long enough, but I don't know how you memorize an entire, soliloquy or monologue. Or I mess up so many times. So many times.
Yeah. Oh, but I thought it was good. You did a good job.
All right, so I think that's all the stuff we have tonight. Keeping it short. We'll come back hopefully next week with another show and another set of pictures.
Like you said at the beginning, we are doing so much better. We appreciate all the encouragement you guys have given us, all the support you've given us, checking in on us, sending us goodies, all of the things that you've done through the last few months. We have definitely been struggling, and so it's been wonderful to have this Twitter community that's rallied around us and helped us and encouraged us so much. And we so appreciate it. And we are trying to get back to normal and to a normal schedule. But to be honest, this has been the first 2 weeks since all of this started in February. It's been 2 whole weeks that we haven't had an emergency. We haven't had, to go to the emergency room. He hasn't been in the hospital. So we're really excited that we're starting to feel a little bit more normal, but we are not, either one of us have not kind of reached that completely healed stage. But we wanted to come back and share for a few minutes at least and say hello and talk about our pictures again.
Yeah, it's been quite a trip, admittedly. Some of the things that happened over the time period. I want to show a picture here, and I may have to edit some time out when we get to it, but because my actual pictures look like a it's scary, the pictures I've taken on my phone for medical reasons of late. But one of the things that I got to do that was so wild was actually fly on a medical helicopter, and they let me take pictures. That was the coolest part. I'll just say it about that much. And actually I was allowed to take pictures while I was flying along. So that was pretty wild. And they had to make me put my camera down. When I got to the end of the flight, they were like, "It's time to put your camera down." So that was just it's been a wild week, couple of weeks, and
actually a couple of months.
Couple of months, yeah. Not trying to over dramatize things. We didn't start a vlog just to cancel it 2 weeks later. That was not
Not
the
expected.
purpose whatsoever. So hopefully we'll be back next week. If not, we'll post the reason why, but we'll see you then.
Bye.
Got any last things, words?
No, just excited to be back, and thank you, friends, for all that you've done.
See you real sometime later. Bye.
Bye.